there is an emptiness inside you. Have you ever dared to sit with it? Not to fix it, but simply to listen. In the quiet space between two breaths, there is something ancient, something sacred. The bamboo is hollow, yet it bends with grace. The bowl is useful, not because of what it holds, but because of its emptiness. And you too are not broken by this emptiness. You are simply being invited back into your center. Not everything that feels like loss is truly a loss. Sometimes it is the clearing of space for something true to emerge. Today, let us explore not how to fill the emptiness, but how to understand it. Like the sky that stretches endlessly above the mountains, emptiness is not a flaw in your being. It is not a void to be feared, but a space to be understood. In the teachings of the Shaolin path, we do not resist the hollow spaces of life. We bow to them, because only what is silent can truly hear. When you say, "I feel empty," emptiness is not the absence of life. It is life in its unshaped form. The bamboo, which bends but does not break, owes its strength to its emptiness. It is hollow by design, and yet it grows tall, dances with the wind, and survives the storm. Imagine if the bamboo sought to fill itself with stones to feel more complete, its strength would crumble. In the same way, many people try to fill their internal emptiness with noise, but to force fullness into a space that is meant to breathe is to lose the gift of that space entirely. From a Shaolin perspective, emptiness is sacred. It is the space between the inhale and the exhale, the silent pause that gives rhythm to life. In Buddhist thought, sunyata. The concept of emptiness is not nihilism, it is freedom from fixed identity. It means you are not confined by what you have or what you've lost. You are free to flow, free to transform. You are the space in which all experiences arise and fall away. In real life, this becomes most clear when something ends. A relationship, a job, a stage of life. You are left with silence. You look around and suddenly what was familiar is gone. The mind panics, it scrambles to fill the space with something. But here is the invitation. Don't. Instead, sit with that space, let it be what it is, let it breathe, do not rush to paint over the canvas simply because it has become blank. The practical teaching is this: when you feel empty inside, resist the urge to escape. Instead, be like the monk who enters the hall before morning practice. He lights the incense, he bows, and then he simply sits. He does not ask for answers, he becomes the question. Over time, that quiet becomes his teacher. This is not an easy path. It requires trust, it requires patience. But it leads to something more authentic than surface-level comfort. It leads to peace without dependency. It leads to strength without noise. From this emptiness, something gentle and real will begin to take form. But only if you allow it to emerge from within. Not as a distraction, but as a natural expression of your own essence. The space within you is not void, it is vast. There is a quiet wisdom in the mountain that does not chase the wind, it does not grasp, it does not flee, it simply remains. In its stillness, it bears witness to all seasons. The biting chill of winter, the blossom of spring, the fire of summer, and the letting go of autumn. The mountain does not cling to the snow, nor does it mourn the passing of a cloud. And so must we learn that to suffer from emptiness is often to suffer from clinging to moments, to identities, to stories we have outgrown but are afraid to release. In the Shaolin teachings, clinging is one of the roots of inner suffering. It is the grasping of the hand that cannot let the leaf fall in peace. But the nature of all things is change. The moment you try to freeze the flowing river, it ceases to nourish. The moment you try to hold the wind, it escapes you. What we often mistake for emptiness is not a lack within. The attachment to fleeting things, the praise, the love, the image of self, the validation from others. This attachment becomes the cause of restlessness. You may say, I feel empty because they left, or I feel hollow because I failed, or I no longer know who I am. But these feelings, though intense, are not permanent. They are like the passing weather, dark clouds that briefly veil the sky but cannot harm its vastness. Letting go does not mean indifference. It means understanding. It means choosing freedom over possession. What is truly yours cannot be lost. What is not meant for you cannot be kept, no matter how tightly you hold it. To practice this principle is to develop a form of inner strength rooted in softness, like the reed that bends in the wind yet does not break. Letting go is not weakness, it is the greatest form of trust. Trust that what departs creates space for what is meant to enter. Trust that your value is not defined by what remains in your life, but by how peacefully you release what no longer serves your path. In daily life, this looks like pausing before reacting to a painful word. It means breathing deeply when someone withdraws their affection. It means not defining your worth by the applause or silence of others. The Shaolin warrior does not fight every battle. He chooses which energies to allow into his field. And sometimes the most disciplined act is walking away from the noise, without resentment, without a trace of bitterness, simply with awareness. When you stop clinging to the wind, you begin to stand like the tree, rooted, steady, alive. You no longer chase what cannot be caught. You return to yourself. You return to the ground beneath your feet. You return to this breath, this moment. To let go is not to lose, it is to return. When the surface of a pond is disturbed, even the light of the moon becomes broken. But when the water is still, even the stars can be seen in perfect clarity. In the same way, the mind that is restless, clouded by desires or fears, cannot perceive truth as it is. It only sees distorted images of what it hopes or fears to find. This is the nature of the human experience. When we feel empty inside, the first impulse is to fix, to distract, to fill the void with movement or noise. But the Shaolin way is not to move outward. It is to return inward. Stillness is not the absence of motion, but the discipline of presence. We live in a time where silence is rare, and yet it is in silence that we meet ourselves most honestly. The world encourages speed, urges productivity, praises those who are always doing. But in the temple, the gong sounds not to mark activity, but to return the mind to awareness. Between the strikes of the gong, there is only breath. In those spaces we learn to observe. And what we observe, if we are still enough, but by how we are thinking about it. The still pond teaches that perception is everything. A disturbed mind reflects disturbance. A calm mind reflects peace. When you feel confused, disoriented, emotionally lost, it is not always a signal that something is wrong with your life. Sometimes it is only a sign that the surface has been agitated. The answer then is not to chase new experiences, but to become quiet enough that your inner reflection becomes clear once more. In practical terms, this is the value of meditation. It is not about doing it right or achieving some lofty state. It is about making space, daily space, for the ripples to settle. 5 minutes of mindful breathing, 10 minutes of silent sitting, the sweeping of a floor with full attention. These are not small things, they are sacred acts of stilling the water. They are what keep the monk grounded, the warrior alert, the path visible. You may not be able to control the winds of life, but you can choose whether your internal waters stay agitated or become still. When someone speaks harshly, do you react instantly or can you breathe first? When uncertainty arises, do you panic or can you observe the feeling without becoming it? The ability to pause, to allow the internal waters to clear, is a form of mastery that requires no display, no noise, no reward. It is silent, but it is powerful. Stillness is not withdrawal. It is presence without chaos. It is the discipline to remain inwardly unmoved, even while the world around you shifts and spins. When you practice this, you no longer need to chase peace, you become it. Not by changing everything, but by changing the way you see. And the way to see clearly is always through stillness. Peace is not the absence of thought. It is the quiet strength behind it. The river does not resist the stone in its path. It curves, it adapts, it flows. In its softness lies a strength that carves through mountains. Yet how often do we, unlike the river, stiffen against life's changes? We resist what arrives and cling to what departs. And in this resistance, suffering is born. Not because of what life brings, but because of our unwillingness to accept it as it is. From the Shaolin view, pain is natural, but suffering is often a choice. A byproduct of the mind's refusal to yield. The tighter the grip, the more the tension. The more the tension, the deeper the wound. Consider the tree in winter. Its branches are bare. the color has faded, life appears withdrawn. But the tree does not mourn the fallen leaves. It does not resist the cold. It enters the season completely, in full trust. It understands that the leaf must fall before the bud can rise. So too in our lives, there are seasons of letting go, of loss, of uncertainty. But if we fight the winter, you will not survive to see the spring. The Shaolin monk does not demand that the path be smooth. He prepares his feet for the walk. He does not wish the mountain away. He studies how to ascend with each step. This is the way of peace, not in avoiding difficulty, but in refusing to create extra pain through inner conflict. In daily life, resistance shows itself in many subtle ways. In the rejection of uncomfortable emotions, in the avoidance of truth, in the silent war we wage against ourselves. I should not feel this way, we say. This should not be happening. But life does not bend to our wishes. It unfolds according to its own rhythm. And to argue with what is to exhaust the spirit. But when mind and reality align, there is harmony, even in hardship. To practice non-resistance is not to become passive, it is to become wise. Acceptance is not the same as apathy. It is the conscious choice to stop pouring energy into what cannot be controlled and to start flowing with what is. Like the calligraphy brush guided by the steady hand, life flows better when we stop forcing it to follow our design. This practice begins small, a delayed plan, a missed opportunity, a word spoken unfairly. Instead of meeting these with tension, meet them with breath. Let the body soften, let the shoulders lower, let the face return to calm. Resistance tightens the body and contracts the mind, but awareness, paired with acceptance, opens the doorway to freedom. Not because the situation changes, but because we change our posture toward it. The river does not push the stone, it flows around it. In the quiet halls of the Shaolin temple, nothing is wasted. Every movement, no matter how small, has a purpose. The sweeping of the floor is not just for cleanliness, it is training. The carrying of water is not just a chore, it is meditation. Meaning is not something we are handed by the world, it is something we cultivate with presence, repetition and care. This is a truth often forgotten by those who feel empty. They wait for meaning to arrive like a visitor at the door. But meaning does not knock. It emerges slowly from within like a lotus rising through muddy water toward the light. Many people walk through life searching for some grand purpose to fall into their lap. They chase fulfillment through roles, titles, and achievements. But fulfillment does not lie at the top of the mountain. It lies in how you climb. If your actions lack attention, your days will feel hollow, even if they are full. But if your actions carry awareness, even a simple moment sitting with tea, listening to the wind, offering a kind word, can become sacred. In the Shaolin way, no moment is too ordinary to carry truth. The question is never, is this meaningful? But rather, am I bringing meaning to this? In Buddhist teachings, the Eightfold Path does not begin with action. It begins with right view, the ability to see clearly. Only with clarity can we walk with integrity. Only with presence can we shape a life that has depth. When you feel empty, do not wait for some external event to make you whole. Begin with the smallest thing within reach. Plant the seed of meaning in how you walk, in how you speak, in how you breathe. Return to the breath. Not to escape life, but to enter it more fully. Each breath taken with mindfulness is a step towards meaning. Not the kind shouted from stages, but the kind that whispers in silence, this moment matters. In daily life, this may mean waking up and making your bed not as a task, but as a ritual. Greeting someone not out of habit, but with sincerity. Washing the dishes with care as if polishing the mind itself. These are not burdens, they are invitations. Each one offers a chance to connect with the living thread that runs through all things. To miss them is to stay asleep. To engage them is to awaken. This way of living requires slowness. It asks that you let go of the chase and return to the center. The past does not promise ease, but it promises something deeper. Alignment with who you are, with what you do, with how you live. And through that alignment, a quiet strength emerges. A kind of meaning that does not shout, but endures. Meaning grows where attention flows. And so, if you have ever whispered to yourself, "Why do I feel so empty inside?" know this. The emptiness is not a failure. It is a doorway, a space waiting to be honored, not hurried through. Each teaching, like the bamboo's hollow strength, the river's graceful flow, the stillness of the pond, the acceptance of the seasons, but to understand it, to let it teach you, to let it refine you. Emptiness is not the end of something, it is the beginning of awareness. In stillness, meaning arises. In letting go, peace returns. In presence, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The Shaolin path does not offer quick solutions, but it offers something far more valuable: inner clarity. And with clarity, even suffering becomes a teacher. Even silence becomes a song. As the Buddha once said, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. So begin not by chasing, but by sitting. Not by adding, but by observing. Not by fixing, but by feeling. Let today be the moment you stop resisting the space within and start listening to it. Start today, not by moving, but by sitting still and seeing what remains. Thank you for walking this path with me. May your mind be calm, your breath steady, and your heart open to what truly matters.